Yes, sir. We'll start off with the Copa America. There's a little bit less to talk about just because it's just the quarterfinals that are set. We haven't actually played the games yet.
Mhm.
Um, it's different with the Euros and the Copa America because the Copa America basically just has two groups of five. The
Yep.
top four go through, and they do like a playoff kind of thing where first versus fourth from Group A from Group B, and they face off against each other, and then best teams go to the final. So the matchups are Peru versus Paraguay, Brazil versus Chile, Uruguay versus Colombia, and Argentina versus Ecuador, which are, Brazil got first in their group, and it seems very hard done by because they seem to come up against a very, very tough opponent. Two-time Copa American champion in the last 10 years in
Mhm.
Chile. Argentina, Ecuador. Ecuador gave Brazil a pretty good game over the weekend. I believe they drew 1-1.
Yeah.
Argentina's been playing extremely good football. Messi, we know what Messi's doing. Messi is a freak of nature, one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. This is, now that the quarterfinals are set and now that it's a knockout round, I'm very excited to watch the Copa America. What about you, Bone?
Yeah, I've watched mainly Brazil throughout this tournament. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really watched as much as I would have liked. As for the Euros, I've watched basically almost every match in that, not everyone, but close to it. So yeah, for the Copa America, I haven't watched as much as I would have liked, but definitely gonna lock in to the rest of this tournament as it goes underway. Yeah, as for the tournament, I've watched mainly Brazil, and I think they have to be considered the favorites considering they're the reigning champions. But Argentina, they're definitely going for it this year. Messi, probably one of his last few international tournaments as his career begins to enter its twilight years. But yeah, that draw for Brazil is pretty. As you said, Milan, they have to feel hard done by getting Chile. That's probably one of the toughest matchups they could face in the knockouts. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brazil lose because international football, anything can happen. But also, they have to be considered the favorites in that match. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, Brazil has been like I have it in the notes. Brazil has been looking dangerous throughout this tournament. The first game they played against Venezuela, I believe I watched,
Mhm.
they were killing them.
Yeah.
Venezuela had no rebuttal for anything they were doing. Richarlison's had a great tournament. Neymar, we know what he's doing. Paquetá and his opportunity has played well. The defense has been great. There really isn't a weakness in the Brazil team right now other than themselves, which it always ends up being for Brazil.
Yeah.
Their downfall usually ends up being either they take it too lightly or they have a lapse in judgment or whatever it is, and they end up losing. But it looks like we could potentially get a Brazil Argentina final, which will be one of the greatest international tournament finals we've seen in a very, very long time. I mean, you got the likes of the greatest ever and a probably top three player in the world right now
In the world right
facing
now,
off against
Neymar.
each other.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be a phenomenal final. And I think it would be, I'm really hoping we get to that point. For some reason, I feel like we won't just because, there's always upsets. And it would just be too good to be true, I think. But an Argentina Brazil final would be phenomenal. It would just be, a great couple of days of international football because I believe the Copa America final ends July 10th,
My
and then the
birthday.
Euros is the day after, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? But yeah,
Yes, sir.
so
The final falls on my birthday, so I
that's
pray we
perfect.
get an Argentina Brazil final.
What a present that would be. But yeah, do you think that's the final that you project as of right now?
I would hope so, but I'm not counting out Uruguay just because Uruguay
Mhm.
is a fantastic team. We've seen it throughout every turn. They're one of the greatest international sides ever because they have more international trophies than the likes of England, who gets all the praise throughout every single tournament, right?
Mhm.
Uruguay in every World Cup they show up. When you got the likes of Luis Suarez and Edison Cavani up top, you can't count out any team with that front line, right?
Exactly.
So they also have a pretty tough opponent in Colombia. They're not the Colombia of old.
No.
James, I'm not even entirely sure if James is on this team. I haven't kept up with the Colombia team much. But even so, this isn't James that we've seen in 2014 and in his prime years in 2016 with Real Madrid. It's a tough opponent, but I wouldn't count out Uruguay for the final just yet.
Yeah, they're definitely, for me, they'd be the third best team. And Colombia, yeah, they usually come into the tournament, as pretty good, a pretty strong opposition. But they're definitely not the team of years past, especially 2014 with James like really breaking onto the scene that season. But I would love, I'd love Uruguay, Brazil, Argentina, any of those three in the final, just to get a really great matchup. I don't want to see Brazil against a lesser opponent and see them walk to the trophy. I want to see them challenged as defending champions. It'd be great for them to really prove their worth, and a final against Argentina to prove that and attempt to go back to back against the likes of Messi, trying to get it done on an international stage would be quite the spectacle, and a really nice lead up to the Euro final as well. So any more thoughts on the Copa, or
I'll just give you one question. It seems both of us have both Brazil and Argentina in the final. It seems that we both favoring that result. If that is the final, who do you have?
Honestly, just based off how Argentina is playing right now with Messi, and he's actually turning up. He's really turning it up. I'd have to go with Argentina. I really do, because Messi, he's still one of the best players in the world, if not the best right now, even at his advanced age. And he's going to be really going for it. Argentina, it's always the problem with them is their defense lacks a bit. But right now, Argentina, I'd have them in the final, or winning the tournament.
I would love it. Finally, the disrespect, the blemish on his career of you don't have an international trophy. It's going to be gone. It's going to be dusted. I don't care if it's a Copa America. It's the same. It's the equivalent to the Euros, except it's his part of the world, and
exactly.
you can't hold that against him. You can't hold that against him. Because as much as I want to hold it against Ronaldo, the fact that he got third place in the easiest group in the world, got a cakewalk throughout the rounds, and got to the final, got injured, and then still won the trophy. I can't hold that against him because he still won the trophy, right? So I don't want to hear no slander about Messi. You guys better shut your mouths, because Messi's one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. And if he wins it this year, it's enough. All right? That's enough.
Yeah, and obviously the blemish on both those guys' careers is the lack of a World Cup. One more question about I guess Messi and Ronaldo in their international careers. Do you foresee both of them featuring in the World Cup next year in Qatar?
Most definitely. I mean, Ronaldo, I can see playing until 2026 on the world stage. As much as he may not be as effective as he is right now, I think he'll be part of the side. Even from the bench or whatever it may be, Ronaldo's the kind of player that he'll give up when he wants to give up. His body, it seems it just doesn't really age as much. Like it ages, like we don't see him do the dribbling that he's done in previous years. He's struggling on the dribbling side of the game. But he's worked his game towards, the poaching side, which has been good for him because we know how much of a clinical finisher he is. Mm-hmm. And it's, that's why he's the top goal scorer in the Euros right now, even while being out. Right.
Yeah. Give him the service and he'll finish it off. Right. Like we saw that against Germany, he clinical finish on perfectly executed counterattack. I don't know why this guy's still taking free kicks. I mean, scores one against Portsmouth years ago.
Exactly. I don't want to talk about that. That guy, he tricked the world, man.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you though, Milan. I think both players, they're going to be going for it for, probably their last World Cups in next December. I really don't see Ronaldo playing till 2026. That'd be phenomenal. How many World Cups would that be? I believe that would be, did he play in 2006?
Yes, 2006, 2010, 2006, 2014. 10.
Wow. 2006 World Cups if you made it that far.
Wow.
That would be quite the feat. But yeah, I guess talking about Ronaldo, we can transition right over into the Euros. Should we start off with probably the most disappointing day in football for me?
The floor is yours, brother. The floor is yours. I've left no notes for this. This is all coming from your heart.
Yeah. So defending World Cup champions France. As a France supporter, very unfortunate day for me, just based off the way the entire match unfolded. As everybody knows, France drew 3-3 before losing on penalties to Switzerland. I believe it was 5-4 on penalties.
Yes.
Yeah, really disappointing. very disappointing. Didier Deschamps, I can't really fault him for his selection because both left backs were out injured. So Adrian Rabiot had to fill in there, which, it's a makeshift back line. I don't think Rabiot is that good as a midfielder, so playing him in a natural role just spells disaster. He wasn't terrible, but it's not a team at full strength. For me, Milan, I think what happened in this match was, I wouldn't call it complacency, because France, they clearly turned it on at a certain point in the second half, coming back and scoring 2 goals in quick succession, both by Karim Benzema to take the lead. I think it was really just injuries that really took down France at the end of the day. It was a lack of a fully fit squad, because Dembele, he was injured before this match. He was out for the rest of the tournament. Both starting left backs were injured as well. France played really well. They were playing really well up until the point where Paul Pogba scored, for me, the goal of the tournament. And I think I wouldn't call it complacency, really. It was just, Switzerland, they were really up for it on the day, and it showed. And once you get to penalties, it's a draw of the hat. It's the lottery, and anything can happen on pens. So I think I'd be more upset with France's performance had they lost something like 3-4-1 and just gotten walked off the pitch. I can't, it's penalties, it's injuries. And it's just, I would say, a bit of a lack of concentration at the end, letting Switzerland score twice in the last 10 minutes. I think that's really what undid it for me. There's been a lot of talk about Kylian Mbappe and him being a fraud, and that's just not true. All right. Like, Kylian Mbappe is one of the best players in world football. There's a reason he's valued at over 100 million euros. There's a reason why there's been so much talk about him recently. There we go. The little pop figure. I respect that. There's a reason he's one of the best players in world football. There's a reason that everyone is wanting him on a free agent signing next summer. He's not a fraud. One bad game doesn't define a player's career, all right? He scored at 19 in the last World Cup final. So let's just dispel that right away. I get it. It's banter. It's Twitter. But the amount of slander coming this guy's way was absolutely ridiculous. He's clearly one of the best in the world. So yeah, let's get that out of the way. Milan, I know you had something to say on Didier Deschamps' selection and his management of the team this tournament, so I'll hand it over to you before I talk for another hour. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Deschamps' selection and just kind of squad management throughout the tournament for France? Because as we both talked about, it would be nothing short of bringing home the trophy. It'd be a disappointment.
100%. But before I go on, Bowen, just to let you know, I listened to you talk about France for a full day straight. Don't even worry about holding up an hour. But Didier Deschamps, we talked about it on the Euro 2020 preview. You're gonna leave Theo Hernandez at home, and it's gonna bite you in the ass, and it did. It fully did. And I don't want to say I called it, but I kind of did, because you still, to say that you didn't have a left back is false, because you still had Dubois. Dubois could have played. He plays both left back and right back, and you decided to go with Rabiot because for some reason you have an obsession with Rabiot. It's a very, it was almost Pep-esque, this this experiment in this game. And it was very like, I've got a great team, I've got great individuals. My team on paper is much better. There's no way, no matter what I do, this formation will win the game. And it didn't work out. They did end up switching to a 4-3-3 towards a point in the game, but when you've got Rabiot as your third midfielder, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. It just won't. Rabiot is not a real footballer. I'm sorry. And this news coming of Rabiot's mother, arguing with Mbappe's parents, saying you should be scolding him for his performance. What? I know a guy that's now earning 9 mil a year in Italy, stealing money from the Italian government, stealing money from Juventus Football Club, stealing a jersey from the French national team, one of the most illustrious national teams in world football. I know his mother is not the one talking. She's the last person that should be saying a word right now. A word. But as I want to say about Deschamps, I didn't want to say it before because I could have been wrong, right?
Yep.
because he did get his team to a Euro 2016 finals at home. He did get his team to a World Cup final, won it. You know, it was an easier opponent but he played on a much tougher side of the bracket. He played the likes of Argentina, the
Uruguay,
likes of Uruguay,
Belgium.
played Belgium in the semifinals. It was a tough bracket to face, and you know he pulled through. But I'm sorry, my opinion is now confirmed that he is not a great manager. He is not. I believe that if he is with a different squad, a squad that is not of the level of France, because we know what France's side is. France's side, you take out Mbappe, you can still win a tournament.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because without Benzema, they've already gone to 2 finals and 2 tournaments.
Exactly.
That is crazy, right? I don't think he's a great manager, and I can't wait until Zidane takes over because I know Zidane is a great manager. I know Zidane is a great manager. I know he has strategies. I know he doesn't overcomplicate things, and I know he doesn't play favorites. And when he does, it's rightful because when he's played favorites against Gareth Bale, he's proven him right because he went to Tottenham. He had an all right season, but it wasn't great for Gareth Bale standards. For the money that he's earning, that's not the Gareth Bale we know, right? It is what it is. I mean, Teo Hernandez is at home. Why? God knows. God knows. And I think that the biggest, difference between 2018 and 2021 right now for this France side is the unfortunate fall of grace from Samuel Umtiti. Because in 2018, he was arguably the best defender in the world, arguably. And he, without him, their defense was looking shaky. Varane did all right throughout this tournament, but Kimpembe had a terrible, terrible game. He was at fault for, I believe, the final goal.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful through ball for Granit Xhaka, which we'll get to in a second. Fantastic game. Mbappe, yes, he did have, a few chances that he fluffed, easy chances for Mbappe standard. But the thing is, I've always seen Mbappe as he's not clinical. He's not a clinical finisher, but he's a fantastic footballer and he'll give you everything else that you need.
Yep.
Yeah, he may not be as clinical as Haaland, but he does a hell of a lot more than Haaland does. A hell of a lot more, right? And I don't judge him for that because I knew that was going to happen. I knew when push comes to shove, Mbappe may not score. He could score, but there's a big chance he won't, right? The penalty, it's very unfortunate. The pressure was mounting on him and he missed. It is what it is. All the greats have those moments. That's what builds character. We've seen Messi lose in Copa America finals time and time again. We've seen him lose in World Cup finals. Well, at least twice he's lost in the Copa America finals. World Cup finals, he went out against Germany. We saw Ronaldo in Euro 2004 cry his eyes out, did not win. We've seen him miss a penalty in the Champions League final for Manchester United. Almost
Antoine Griezmann, he's another one. He's not at that level, but he missed crucial penalties.
He is a great. And, the greats have that happen to them. That's what builds the character. And I saw a tweet that was that Mbappe, his career was too perfect. It seemed like he was an industry plant. Like he needed this, right? Like we saw pictures of him as a youngin with the likes of Henry, Ronaldo. It seemed too good to be true. We needed him to mess up somewhere, right? And I'm glad it happened here because he's still young and he's still gonna dominate the world.
Exactly.
He will go right to the very top, and him and Haaland are gonna be those top 2 in the world in the coming years. And this doesn't define him, and I don't want to hear it on Twitter. I'm tired of it. He's not a fraud. He had a rough game. It is what it is, right?
It's football, and he missed a really good chance at the end of the game. Not end of the game, but an extra time. Yeah, he just probably put on one of his worst performances in his career. But again, one bad performance, as we both said, doesn't define a player's career. He's going to easily make it to the top of the game without a doubt. By the end of his career, he'll bag probably another international trophy with France, a couple Champions Leagues, and a ton of league titles and individual awards. So he's going to definitely be one of the best players in world football for a long time. And just one bad performance doesn't make a career, especially at the young age he is, and especially considering what he's already achieved in his career. So I'm not trying to make this a Kylian Mbappe apology hour, but it's just I wanted to just get that out of the way that he's he's easily going to be one of the best for a long, long time.
But what are your thoughts on Deschamps? Do you want him to stay, or are you happy to bring in Zidane
I mean, I
as a
feel
France
that
fan?
seeing the likes of Spain and Germany and their kind of reluctance, I'd say, to switch it up because why are you going to change a winning team after successes with the Bosk and Love? I can see Deschamps staying around for 2022, but if France disappoint there, the World Cup hangover, a lot of the past winners have not made out of the group stage. If that happens, or they fail to win it, I could definitely see them moving on, get a new face in there. And by then, maybe Zidane is the man to take over the job. So I definitely think Deschamps will be the France manager going forward into the next tournament, but I could see the Qatar World Cup being his last. Yeah.
I can see that happening, but I would hope for the sake of a lot of French players, Paul Pogba, fantastic tournament, probably the best player in the tournament for me at least. The likes of Benzema scored that first goal for me, top 5 all time, purely based on the fact that I adore touches. I adore first touches, and that first touch was majestic with that very, very soft finish. Beautiful. That quality, I don't want it to go to waste. Maybe I believe you disagree with me, but I just don't think Deschamps is the man to lead this team going forward to make them better. And I would hope that Zidane takes over towards Qatar because I want to see France compete. I want to see a World Cup, a world champion finally break that curse of, the hangover, as you said. So I hope that Zidane takes over, but it's yet to be seen.
I definitely believe I agree with you, Milan. I think he's definitely the man in line to take over from that position, just based off his CV and what he's done with Real Madrid. And just he's very well respected in the footballing world, and he's probably one of the hottest free agent managers out on the market. So yeah, I definitely think he'll be mulling his options, seeing if the job comes open, and if it does, I think if you're the France Football Federation, Zidane would have to be the first man that you'd go and try to appoint for sure, right?
Most definitely.
So yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on going forward. But yeah, off of France, let's touch on the England-Germany game. Milan, is it coming home? It looks like it could very well be coming home.
I hope not, man. I hope not. I know, as an Arsenal fan, considering that France is out, I guess England's the next team you would be cheering for, considering Bukayo Saka's in the mix. But the last thing I want. Oh yeah, not even.
I've been honestly going for Denmark. I don't have any family connections or anything like that, but I had them picked to make the final, and just the resiliency they've shown after the Christian Eriksen. That's just a big story for me. So I'm kind of rooting for Denmark, but as a neutral now at this point with France out, I'm really good for anybody to win it. So that's kind of my take on that. But yeah, back to the England game.
Yeah, the last thing I want is England to win because first of all, my predictions going to this tournament, I had France champion, I had Turkey dark horse, I had
yeah. The Turkey, yeah, that's a tough showing from them.
And then I said biggest disappointment, England. And if they win, this next round, I'm absolutely positively muttered because it's not even a disappointment anymore because they're going to be in the semis. And I wouldn't say the disappointment no matter who you play, because if you get to the final 4 of a tournament, much respect to you, right?
Exactly.
On the topic of the Germany game, horrible game from Germany. I'd say probably one of the worst German showings I've seen in my lifetime. I don't think I've seen Germany play that bad in my life.
I think that's a bit harsh, honestly.
When have you seen Germany play worse than that?
In the lead up to the tournament, losing to North Macedonia, getting routed 6-0 by Spain. Those are pretty rough performances. The entire last World Cup, the showing against South Korea, that was pretty rough. Germany in this match, and I'm not trying to discredit what you said, but Germany in this match, Thomas Muller, he was through on goal and he drags it wide of the post. I was inches away from equalizing, and then minutes later, Harry Kane goes and seals the deal with his his goal to win the match for them. But, I had Germany making the semifinals somehow. That was a bit of a really out there prediction from me. But yeah, I never really had Germany actually going on to win the tournament. I think this consensus around this team was, Milan, they're a team in transition. They have a lot of holdovers from the 2014 squad, but they haven't really got that next crop of young talent to really take over the rest of the squad, So, and it's Wolves' last tournament as a manager. And there was a lot of, it seems like a lot of tension around that squad. So I never really had them winning it. But you'd have to say they're a disappointment considering the stature of, how they're seen in international football. Definitely disappointing from Germany.
Most definitely. I mean, Germany, when you think of great footballing teams, Germany is definitely right up there, right?
Mhm.
You've got 3 or 4 World Cups. You always think of Germany when you think of, and when you think of England, Germany, who you think is going to win, right? It was a poor performance for me, at least. Pathetic miss from Thomas Muller. It is what it is. It's a new beginning for them under Hansi Flick. They've been waiting on this because a lot of German fans that I've seen, at least throughout socials, I've not been a fan of Love over the last few years, and they've been waiting on a new beginning, and they're happy that someone of the stature of Hansi Flick, who's one of the best managers in the world, we've seen it with Bayern, winning a treble, taking over Germany. I think they're going to be a very, very dangerous team in the coming years. You've got a lot of young talent. You've still got Thomas Muller potentially will still be back for 2022. But on to England, how a team with 2 right backs, a left back, one of the most defensive lineups, and a 3-back formation pulled out a 2-0 win against a Germany who's looking to win is beyond me.
Raheem Sterling, he's having probably the international tournament of his life. You have to say right now, 3 goals in 4 matches. And then, Jack Grealish, instant impact off the bench. There's a reason why the media has been talking about him so much in the lead up to this tournament. He was the key force in them getting that second goal. He made an instant impact after coming on for Bukayo Saka. With the amount of attacking talent at their disposal, we both talked about this. A lot of people have been talking. How can Gareth Southgate afford to play such a defensive lineup that he brought out to start the match? But it's the attacking talent off the bench that changed the game, and Harry Kane finally gets his goal. So, I mean, I can't fault Southgate because it clearly worked. Playing defensive football may not be always attractive on the eye, but he got the job done. And, you'd have to favor them making it to the final based on where they are in the bracket.
Oh, most definitely. I wouldn't even say this is more of a cakewalk, I'd say, than the World Cup, but it's a tougher opponent in the round of 16. Beating Germany is impressive. I've got to give full credit to that. And the only thing I'll fault Germany for is I thought it was a horrible game from Germany, but it was a fantastic game from England. They played the strategy, whatever it was, because I don't know what it is, because I can't read Gareth Southgate's mind, because that guy is something else to perfection. And they got a 2-0 win, and they're going to be facing off against Ukraine in the next round. Is there anything else you want to add on the England side of things, or should I go on to Ukraine here?
No, I just, I think Southgate, he actually got it right, and fair credit to him, because I was very much a skeptic of his tactics and what he was bringing to the table. But to go and defeat Germany 2-0 in pretty convincing fashion, it wasn't like a walk in the park, but kept them out of the net. And really, Germany had some chances, but weren't able to convert. Beating the Germans 2-0 is quite a feat. And now, they look primed to make the final in my eyes. So, you know what, Gareth Southgate, I apologize. You got it right this time.
I mean, listen, we got to remember, if you don't know your own strategy, how the hell is the opponent going to know your strategy, right? So full credit to him for that. He outsmarted World Cup winner and Joachim Löw, and full credit to him. But on the side of Ukraine, fantastic game that day. Ukraine-Sweden. Sweden had a great game that just got extremely unlucky. Emil Forsberg had about 3-4 big chances, converted only one of them, hit the post on, I believe, 2 of them. It was very, very tough for Sweden. But nevertheless, Ukraine fantastic game from them. Sheva ball lives on to see another day. My boy Shevchenko, my idol, one of my favorite players of all time. He led Ukraine to their greatest ever World Cup finish, which was a quarterfinal, and now he leads them to the greatest ever Euro finish as a manager, which is the quarterfinal. Great goal from Dovbyk, I believe his name is Artem Dovbyk. He got subbed on towards the second half of extra time. Great diving header from him. Fantastic game from Zinchenko, who, he's been playing fullback for Man City, but we see that he's a midfielder. We see he was started as a midfielder, and he should be playing in a more central role. He just doesn't fit into that team, and it is what it is. But he's a fantastic player. And to say it's easy for Ukraine on paper for sure, but with the way that Ukraine is playing, with the passion and the drive and the we don't want to lose kind of mentality, it's hard for me to say it's a cakewalk for England.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, based off England, it would be typical of England to go beat Germany pretty convincingly and then slip up against Ukraine. It's definitely not going to be an easy game. And for England, they can't allow themselves to think it will be an easy match because, as you said, the fighting mentality, that never die attitude. Milan, looking back to their group stage performances in that first match against the Netherlands, Ukraine I'd say easily should have got a point out of that match. I feel they're very hard done by in the manner in which they lost. Their performances, it doesn't look as great on paper based off the fact they had to rely on Sweden to take care of Poland for them just to make the knockouts. But international football, anything can happen. And I think that's a really big advantage for Ukraine, is that anything can happen once you reach the quarterfinals on all the broadcasts. That's what the commentators talk about, is anything can happen in the quarterfinal. I think England are obviously heavy favorites, but don't count out Ukraine one bit.
100%. And if Sheva is the one to send, it's coming home. The scenes, bro. The scenes.
Your Twitter you'll be having quite the field day on Twitter, I'd imagine.
You guys don't want to follow me. You guys want to mute me because you guys do not want to see me on Twitter that day. That's for sure. But another game that happened on the France game day. I want to touch on Switzerland a little bit later after this, because this will be the matchup, because Switzerland also deserves a ton of credit. I know you're not really interested in talking about them because they knocked out your team, but I want to give them the credit they deserve. But on the other side of that game, Spain, Croatia, what a match. I mean,
after the tournament, and it's hard to say that after the France Switzerland game, but you'd have to argue that's top 3 matches of the tournament by far.
It's it was something else. I mean, Spain was up 3-1, and it was in the 80th minute. It seemed all but done for Croatia. Ante Rebic is holding that team back tremendously on the attacking front. He just could not score. They subbed him out for Dinamo Zagreb legend, Arsenal legend, Mislav Orsic, who scored a fantastic equalizer, and then former Milan player, current Atalanta player, Mario Pasalic, scored a beautiful diving header to make it 3-3 in the 92nd minute.
Mm-hmm.
It was scenes. It was absolute scenes in that match. And then we go into extra time. Alvaro Morata gets the toughest chance he's had all tournament.
Yeah.
Buries it.
One of the best goals. Go ahead.
No, but you could tell with that celebration that he was angry.
Mm-hmm. That goal meant a lot to him. And it was, when I saw the ball come down to him, I was thinking, he's skying this, he's putting this wide. There's no chances going in. And he absolutely buries it, takes his chance when it comes to him. He's missed some massive chances. It has to be said. Almost every game he misses a big chance, but he scored that one when it counted the most up to this point in the tournament. And you have to give him credit. I heard that this man was receiving death threats based off his poor performances, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Again, we've talked about this in the past. I don't see how some people can't separate the match, what they see on the pitch, to just, at the end of the day, these guys are players playing a game for 90 to 120 minutes. But yeah, Alvaro Morata, shout out to you. You buried that one. You helped Spain advance in a game where they were really on the ropes for a while there. So what do we make of Spain's chances in the next round?
I mean, they're coming up against Switzerland, which we didn't really talk about in that France game, but Switzerland played a fantastic game. I'd say a flawless game. Granit Xhaka, I believe he's going to be suspended for the Spain game, which is a huge, huge loss for the Switzerland team. You know, the captain,
the leader of that team.
He, you know, as much as Pogba did have a great game, he pretty much dominated their midfield because he had, you know, he was stringing passes through. He was doing great interceptions. He was playing a great, great game, and I'm happy for him because I've always been a bit of a fan of Granit Xhaka. You know, most Arsenal fans aren't. I always have been. I always thought he doesn't really just fit the Premier League. I think if he's in any other league, he fits that league perfectly.
Yeah.
A bit like Jorginho. Jorginho, I don't think he fits the Prem. He plays a regista role who's a regista isn't really in the English style of football.
Yeah.
It's more so seen in Italy. And I think, you know, Xhaka is fantastic for that role. If he gets that move to Rome that he's been fighting for, it'll be great for Mourinho. And, you know, Ricardo Rodriguez, I could have bet my house that he was going to miss that pen. And of course he did.
They're interested that Rodriguez was the man to take that penalty. I don't know much
missing
about
5 straight, missing his last 5, and he took the pen.
Yeah, if Switzerland advance any further, you'd have to think he's being taken off penalties, but I don't know. That's, you know, maybe they keep going with him. Hope he'll break that duck. But yeah, Milan, we were texting about this the other day, and you said that you think Spain are not going to have an easy time up against Switzerland. Obviously, with Xhaka not being present, that's a big loss. But I still think they'll make a game out of it. I mean, they beat France. Like, who are we kidding here? Switzerland cannot be taken lightly after that performance.
The organization in that team is, I think they're the most organized team. Maybe Italy is part of that mold, but I think they're one of the most organized teams in the tournament. They may not have the star power, and they sure as hell don't have the star power. But when you have the likes of Xherdan Shaqiri giving moments of brilliance, you've got Seferovic from Benfica scored 2 beautiful headers against France. You know, they're a force to be reckoned with, and I don't think this will be easy game for Spain. I'm taking Switzerland in this Spain game.
Really, that's quite the prediction there. I wouldn't pick that myself, but international football, we saw what happened last game. I would say if I had to pick that one right now, I'd say probably Spain 3-1. But again, I can't discredit Switzerland at all. But yeah, no, for me, Xhaka and just the way he's been performing this tournament, you know, without him, it's going to be a lot tougher. But again, at the end of the day, we'll see there. Anything more on that matchup in that quarterfinal, or should we get quickly to the other matches?
Let's get into the other matches, sir.
All right. So, yeah, I guess we could touch on Czech Republic. Milan, did you think this performance against the Netherlands was an upset? Because I don't.
And not an upset because it was in your bracket.
Not an upset because I think the Netherlands are actually pretty fraudulent. De Boer is no longer in charge. He stepped down due to a terrible tournament performance from him. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, listen, Frank de Boer, the worst coach in the Euros, and it's not even close. I tweeted, if you're fired by an MLS team, you have no business leading a national side, right? You know, the Netherlands were playing well, I'd say. You know, Daniel Malin had a very good chance, and he unfortunately fluffed it. And right after that was
probably
when
dropped by 20 million.
100%. But right after that was when, you know, the Dutch capitulated big time. Matthijs de Ligt with a schoolboy error, a clear handball and a clear red card on breakaway chance for the Czech Republic, put them down to 10 men. And, you know, it was tough for them at that point because Holeš, I believe Holeš scored the first goal. Beautiful header from him.
Beautiful set piece too. Beautifully worked.
Beautiful. Just, you know, the Czech have been playing fantastic. And Schick again hits his 4th goal of the tournament. Now 1 off of Ronaldo. Could potentially become the top goal scorer in the next round.
Yeah.
I did not have that on my bingo card. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was just really disappointed with Memphis Depay in that game. He was missing set piece after set piece. The technique wasn't there, and from a team that's so technically sound as the Dutch, you'd think they'd have that on point. It's not the Dutch team that walked through the doors of the 2010 World Cup, the 2014 World Cup. That the same DNA is just not there. Obviously, they're missing some stars. In that team, such as Virgil van Dijk. He wasn't there, obviously, and he's a massive presence if he was. But yeah, just the management, the lack of the star power. I'm glad to see the Netherlands back in an international tournament, but this year, I never had it being their year, and I'm not surprised at all. But yeah, maybe going forward, some of their younger players keep getting better, progress. They could have quite the team in the World Cup in a couple of years, but that's to be seen. Any more thoughts on that match, or should we quickly get on to the remaining fixtures? We've been talking about the Euros for quite some time.
Yeah. I just wanted to get your thoughts on, because I know you have your final is Italy Denmark. The matchup will be Czech Republic versus Denmark. Who do you have in that matchup?
Have to go with Denmark. I'm very impressed by what the Czechs were able to do against the Dutch. But yeah, Denmark is just so sound in their organization as well. Even without Ryerson, they got an easier draw for sure against Wales, but they did not disappoint, winning that match 4-0, beating Russia 4-1, and playing a really good match against Belgium before Belgium made some great substitutions. And yeah, Czech Republic is definitely an easier opponent for them to face. I'm not discrediting the Czechs, but if I had to pick it right now, as I've picked them to make the final, I'm going Denmark.
I have to agree with you there. I mean, Denmark, they've been looking very, very good. Simon Kjær was nominated as the best player of the round of 16 with 90% passing accuracy, great tackling, great vision. He's the man on the mission right now. He is planning to do everything it takes to, keep Denmark in this tournament. And, your picks, which we'll talk about right now, Bowen, your bracket picks, which you put out on June 10th, they blow my mind, brother. They blow my mind, because the fact that you got all but one team and every matchup basically right in the round of 16 in terms of who got first, who got second, who got third in their groups, hats off, because it's unbelievable how extremely accurate you were. You picked the Czech Republic to beat the Netherlands. The only thing you had wrong is that you and I both picked Turkey to make it second place in that group. Obviously, Wales, they prevailed, and Turkey was the biggest disappointment throughout this tournament. You have had everything all but, the last, I believe you picked Croatia over Spain.
Picked France.
Spain
picked Germany.
You picked
France.
Yeah,
it kind of fell apart. Picked Sweden.
But, it is what it is, because even to get that first part of the bracket right, fantastic. And your finals pick is still
alive. It's still alive. So that's what I'm banking on, but we'll see.
And it's looking good. I mean, we didn't talk about Italy, but the Italy game against Belgium on Friday going to be very interesting, because although Belgium obviously has the better star power and the likes of Lukaku, they will be missing potentially both Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard to injury. Belgium was a great game. They finally beat Ronaldo's voodoo luck, getting third place in the group and getting all the way to the final. They not this year. Portugal had a great game. They had a lot more chances, but Belgium pulled through with a moment of brilliance from Torgan Hazard. And Italy, there wasn't really much to say about the Austria game. It was just close. It was a great game to watch for the first game of the knockout phase, but they still look very, very good, like they have throughout this whole tournament. And it's going to be a cracking game on Friday.
Yeah, that's for me. That's the winner of that match. Kind of has one hand on the trophy, you'd have to say, right? Just based off how close they'll be to the final, and some quality wins along the way for both sides.
I would think so as well. I mean, it seems the favorites right now for the finals are going to be Italy, England.
Yeah, which would be a cracking game in itself.
I wouldn't want that. I would actually love to see the final that you predicted, Italy, Denmark. I think that would be a great game, because Denmark, similarly to Italy, similarly to Switzerland, they're a very organized team. Damsgaard has had a fantastic tournament, stepping in for Christian Eriksen since the accident, and he is set for a big move, hopefully to Milan. Just the whole team. I remember coming into this tournament, we said, "Is this going to be Casper Dolberg's tournament?" And
Yeah.
he's played well. He's played well.
Scored a brace in their last match, and I believe that was only down to the fact that Yusuf Poulsen was injured, so he came in and filled that spot. And I think he has to at least be in contention for selection going forward throughout the tournament if Poulsen's still injured. But yeah, Denmark looking really good. It's going to be a test against the Czechs, but if they get through that, anything can happen. And who knows? Maybe they come up against the Ukraine that comes off of playing their hearts out against England. So we'll see. But yeah, any more thoughts on the Euros, or are we good to move on?
Let's get into some transfer news, boss.
Yeah. So biggest transfer news of the summer so far, the Jadon Sancho saga comes to a close. He officially completes his move to Manchester United after last summer. Obviously, we know United messed around, couldn't get the job done. Sancho stays in Dortmund, plays great, ups his market value. The transfer, I believe, wasn't as much this summer as Dortmund were originally looking for last year, but still, the move is completed nevertheless. And Sancho on the red side of Manchester after beginning his career in the Manchester City Youth Academy, I believe. But what are your thoughts on this move? I think it fills a massive hole that United have been lacking for years, which is the right wing position. And he just slots into a United side who can easily challenge for the title with that acquisition.
I think it's a great move, but contrary to you, I don't think that they needed this. Amad Diallo that they picked up earlier on in January, he, when he's had his chances, especially against Milan in the Europa League, he's showed up, and he's obviously a great talent. And they have a lot of players that are similar in that role. You got the likes of Rashford. You've got potentially Jesse Lingard coming back, who clearly isn't a player that should be sitting on the bench, as we've seen. You got in the midfield, you got Bruno Fernandes. It just seems they have a lot of players that are in the same role, but he is a great creator, which you can't deny, right? And you create chances, you're going to score goals, right? So I think he's going to up the team, but I think it's going to be detrimental to the likes of Amad Diallo, who he's a young guy, and I think he's deserving of his chance because he's proven it in the opportunities that he's had. And it's tough because they paid good money for him, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a great move. I've been on the fence. At first I was saying, yeah, they don't need him. They don't need that position. They got a lot of players that can play there. But I do think what it does add is depth. And he's not a depth piece. Obviously, he's going to slot right into the starting lineup. But yeah, they're not relying on a Diallo, a Greenwood, a Martial even. I think Martial's time at United may very well be up. I think they're looking to move on from him. Maybe we can see what he does. But yeah, I think he's clearly the starter in that position, and a front three of Rashford, Cavani, and Sancho, supported by Fernandes, Pogba, and whoever else in that midfield. It's a great team, and I think you'd have to put them up challenging for the title for the first time in a while. A serious challenge, not like last year where they were top of the league in January before crumbling. I think they're going to be serious challengers for the title throughout.
This is their closest they've been since the Louis van Gaal era with Zlatan, the first year of Pogba. This is definitely the closest they've been since then. And, I think City should still, unfortunately, still cakewalk just because it's City and because it's the Premier League. They dominate. It's to no fault of United, because United will play great football, I think. I think Jadon Sancho is fantastic. I think Jadon Sancho coming back to England is fantastic. But I don't see how you beat City. I don't. And they seem to be getting better and better. They're linked right now with both Jack Grealish and Harry Kane after saying they have no money and they can't replace anyone.
Unbelievable.
Bald fraud, but it is what it is. I'm playing. But yeah, Manchester United, hope for the best. We got a lot of United fan friends. We got Jelani and Jay, both big United guys. So for their sakes, we hope you guys have a great year coming ahead.
Yeah, Milan. So I think, Sancho, it's a great signing. And he'll definitely be bolstering an attack that will be trying to win the Premier League for the first time since 2013. So, any more on that, or we get to move on to Sergio Ramos to PSG, which is, I think, the biggest. No, it's not. I think it is the biggest free agent signing of the summer. Sergio Ramos ending his time at Real Madrid after, I believe, 15 years at the club, winning it all. But yeah, now looking for a new challenge, looking to bring home the Champions League to Paris. And it's a massive upgrade for that back line, not only in quality, but just in mentality, in the leadership he brings to that side. I think is really going to try to get a winner's mentality into that club, because we saw with PSG, they crumble under the pressure time and time again. Clearly, all they're going for right now is the Champions League. And it's going to be kind of not really a last dance. But, with Mbappe, he might be at the end of his time in Paris if they don't win the Champions League. And yeah, I think just bringing Ramos into that team, it's clearly what they're trying to do is win the Champions League. They should win the league after Lille have kind of defunct
sold
in a way,
yeah,
but sold a lot of players and moved on from that league winning team. But yeah, I think it's clearly a Champions League winning move oriented in mind. What are your thoughts on Ramos going to Paris?
I mean, first and foremost, let's get it straight. PSG losing this title is an embarrassment to this team, because they have no business losing. Even if Lille has been playing fantastic football, they had no business losing this title, considering the star power they have. That's number one. And number two, and most importantly, PSG seems to be playing career mode here. They're signing both Donnarumma and Sergio Ramos as free agents. Two great signings.
I believe Hakimi's in the works as well, is he not?
Hakimi will be announced in the next 15 days.
Unbelievable.
60 million signing. You got the likes of Wijnaldum as a free agent as well. It's funny because when they didn't join the Super League, they were the ones that were ruining football. But now that they're buying everyone in the world, everyone's salty, right? You guys are shocked by this? You guys, this is new to you? It's just... I mean,
not only that, but the infamous summer of 2017 with the Neymar transfer. They're playing with unlimited
Neymar
funds.
and Mbappe in the same summer spent almost, I believe it was 400 million euros in one summer, just on those two players alone. Whatever, man. But as we've always said throughout, both No Cap Recap and Slightly Biased Sports Talks, what wins you the Champions League is Champions League DNA. Yep. Other than Ronaldo, I don't think there's a single player in the world right now that has more Champions League DNA than Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
We've seen him in the final scoring clutch headers. We've seen him score penalties. We've seen him do everything that you need from a champion. And, they're definitely favorites for everything for a sextuple come next season. I don't believe you should be winning the F1. You should be winning
Super Bowl,
the Copa America, the Super Bowl,
Stanley
everything.
Cup,
when you have
World
a team
Series.
like that, the Stanley Cup, it's ridiculous, man. It is. It really is. And more power to them. But I definitely won't be cheering for a team that has that much star power, because I love an underdog, and I don't want to see them dominate. If Milan gets placed in a group of PSG and we somehow beat them even once, just know, again, you will not want to see my Twitter, because my Twitter will be just harassing every player on PSG, because you have no right losing to us, and you have that's all I have to say, man. Good for Ramos though, getting that bag at that big age of 35, 36. I'm happy for him.
Well, he's still clearly one of the best on his day. Still one of the, not in the right now, not maybe where he was 5-6 years ago, but he's still regarded as one of the top defenders in world football, even if he's lost a bit of a step. That mentality he has, maybe he's lost a bit in the physical sense, but the mentality he brings is unmatched. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. A great signing for them, but it's just brutal, because they're just going to take over the league for the next however many years running. After one fluke season losing the league, they just decided to go all in, and I'd say they're definitely a favorite for the Champions League. That's my thoughts on that, though. Should we move on to Kay Jugador?
Yes, sir. Kedro Godor, you want to go first?
I'll go first. So I'm actually not going with a player. I'm actually going with a league and what they've done recently. And mine, I guess you could say, I don't know what the word for league is in Spanish, maybe Liga. I'm going with the WNBA. The WNBA announced they have a 99% vaccination rate throughout the entire league. Just absolutely wonderful to see that they've really embraced going to get vaccinated. And it's just, I think a lot of other sports leagues and just people in general should really take notes from them. That's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, shout out to the WNBA, really setting the precedent for leagues and how they should be, in my eyes at least, treating this whole pandemic situation as we continue to move out of this. So shout out to the WNBA. That's a massive tip of the hat to them, and just all utmost respect to them for that action.
100%. I also saw that news a couple of days ago, and I was taken aback considering what has happened in all the major leagues, all the leagues that have been making so much more money than the WNBA,
Yep.
and they've struggled to get to this level of, vaccination. I'm very happy to know that the WNBA is doing well and potentially will have fans in the arenas with maskless very, very soon. But just a quick shout out I want to also give to the Zone for they will be including Women's Champions League next year. So we'll be able to actually watch some women's football. For me, at least, I haven't, contrary to other people saying, the women's game isn't as interesting. Maybe to you, no, but if I had the opportunity to watch it, I most definitely would. AC Milan is going to be playing in the Women's Champions League for the first time in its history. I will definitely be watching our games. So hats off to the Zone for that. Not my Que Jogador pick, but definitely there. I got to give him a shout out for that. But my Que Jogador, sorry to let you down, brother. It's Xhaka, because Xhaka deserves all of his flowers right now, brother. Xhaka with a masterful performance. You can see just before the penalty shootout, rallying the troops with a Coca-Cola in hand, not a water, not a agua. Ronaldo mudded. It is what it is. Shout out to him, man. He led his team. Once they won the penalties, he ran to the coach, not to the fans, not to the players. He ran to the coach, celebrated with him in arms. Fantastic, and I'm ecstatic for him. He's endured a lot, sometimes to his own fault, sometimes not.
Yeah.
It's tough to be in England, and I'm very happy for him.
Who knew this man could dye his hair blonde and become a world-class player? Not me. I was definitely not one of the people who thought he had that performance in him. But yeah, it was a masterful performance for him, to my detriment as a France supporter and his critic, anyways, respect to Xhaka for that. You can't hate on that. And I wish he was playing the next round, just because you want to see him keep going, back up that performance with another good one. But it is what it is, and hopefully Switzerland advance, because as a France supporter, going out to the champions, if Switzerland goes all the way, they'd be able to say that two tournaments running. So any more thoughts on anything else? Are we good to wrap up?
Let's get it done, buddy.
Yeah, this has been a long one.
Probably gonna have to split this one.
Yeah, for myself, Bowen Cunningham, Milan Stanshu. This has been yet another episode of Slightly Biased Sports Talks podcast and video. We'll be dropping very shortly, hoping to get this one up soon. But again, thanks to everybody who listens and watches. We appreciate your support as always. And until next time, Bowen, Milan, out of here.
Later.